All right, we are live on the Ugly Mug Marketing Facebook page. Hey everybody, thank you for tuning in today, whether you're watching this live or you're going to tune in and watch this later. My name is Hannah and I'm the social media manager here at Ugly Mug Marketing. And today I have a very fun guest for us. Her name is Miss Hannah Ziegeler and she is actually my wedding photographer. So fingers crossed that we will still be having a wedding and that she will be able to shoot for us on August 15 in Michigan at the Felt Estate. I'm so excited. Cannot wait to marry my best friend and cannot wait for Hannah and her super talented self to take the photos. So Hannah, thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, of course. So I asked Hannah to come on and do a little Facebook Live with us today on the Ugly Mug page because I have seen her do some pretty cool things and pivoting her business. As you can imagine, photography right now is a hard industry to be in. We are in the midst of kicking off wedding season. There are newborn sessions that were supposed to be happening right now. Some of those things are being canceled, being postponed. And so these entrepreneurs and business owners are having to find ways to shift their business. They're having to be creative, which we know that they're already good at, but maybe creative in ways that they haven't been before. And so I just wanted to kind of chat with Hannah about some of the things that she has been trying specifically on Instagram and some of her IGTV series that she has been doing. So I'm going to let her take it away and share with us all about that.
Awesome. Thank you. So obviously during this time, I think that at first there was a lot of uncertainty in terms of what it looked like and the duration of what it was looking like. And so I think people were really positive and a lot of people were under the impression that it would be 2 weeks and then we would go back to the way things were. And so for the first 2 weeks, it's a lot to take in. And I think emotionally you have to kind of absorb where the world was at and just like what we thought it was going to end up looking like. And then once I got a week or two in, I realized that this was going to be completely disruptive to the industry and to my style of business originally, because I was only doing, in-person shoots for weddings, which are obviously larger gatherings and events, and then lifestyle, and not being able to go into people's homes and not being able to shoot events and not having educational shoots at all existing. And even corporate shoots were really limiting the people that were allowed to come on site and on campus when we were first just social distancing, but not shutting down. And so once it hit me that we were going to have to really make some changes for that, I started brainstorming the ways that I could give back to my community to keep them engaged and specifically to try to solve a problem, because everything that I had been seeing on Instagram was very much like, how can you solve a problem for your clientele? And what are people going to be struggling? What are they going to be doing? What do they now have the time to do that they used to not have time for? And so I made a list of the things that I think I could offer. And the first thing that really came to mind was for my newborn clients, because for whatever reason, the April month, there was so many babies born. And I really had probably 10 newborn sessions that were on the books, and people were so uncertain as to even, at first it was a guideline. So some people were like, do I let this person into my house? It's not illegal. Do I allow it? Should I not? Like, well, my baby's only been around 3 people and it's only 1 week home from the hospital. And I think people were so uncertain as to the protocol of it. And I was really trying to social distance myself so that way I knew I wasn't as exposed for the babies and the families in case they wanted me. But ultimately, most people were they erred on the side of caution, which was the right thing to do. And they didn't want to allow people into their homes anymore. And so with the newborn session, I came up with a IGTV, which was my first IGTV. And I bought a baby doll because Target was still open, and I went for groceries, and then I just went to the doll section. I spent like $40 on the most real life fake baby doll that I could afford, obviously just to find out it had a cloth body. So it wasn't nearly as cute as what I thought it was going to be. I had one swaddle that I happened to have. And in the IGTV, I ended up just showing how to swaddle, showing my tips and tricks showing a lot about where the light was coming in from in terms of when you have a window and having the baby's face being side lit to accentuate the features and just kind of stuff like that. And then also for how the parents can pose with their baby, because that's something that a lot of people just are really uncertain about. And it's a lot to take in, but you do not want to miss that milestone where you have this fresh newborn come into your home and be a new part of your family. And I think that, you know, those are the moments that you can't get back. You can't ever revisit your baby. They're never going to be as young as they are today. So I just really encouraged my clients. I sent out and was like, check out this IGTV. If you need any help, if they had a session booked with me, I straight up offered it. Like I wasn't going to charge them for it. I was just going to be like, utilize this resource. Let me know if you have questions. I'm going to edit your photos and we'll go from there. And so my first client, they did use iPhone. They used an iPhone in order to shoot it. And they did a phenomenal job. They said they took a couple hours and they just really experimented with it and used an iPhone. And then they sent them to me and I edited them in my normal system. And they actually looked really amazing. So I was really excited about that shoot. And then last week I had my first virtual FaceTime newborn shoot, which actually takes it a step further. And instead of watching the IGTV, we FaceTimed with one phone and then they were able to shoot with a phone or a camera. And they set me up and I helped them set up all the settings on the back of their camera, which was like an 8-year-old Rebel. So it's like a Sam's Club kit from 8 years ago. And those are great cameras. They can do magic. And so I ended up trying to set up all their settings for them. And then they set me up on a dresser and I literally posed them through the camera. So I would just be like, okay, left arm forward underneath the baby's head, tip her a little bit more towards me and shift her so I can see her face, one step closer to the window. And I coached them completely. And then there was just someone else clicking the back button and I checked in every so often. And then I ended up letting them upload them to my Dropbox. And then I ended up editing them and sending them out completely normal. And to be honest, like you really couldn't tell that they weren't my photos, and because they had such a similar editing style and I really did coach them on that. So that would have been the first thing that I offered. And the stats wise, I think, let me see for the insights. I knew it was actually saved 240 times and it had a reach of 4,408. And that was on Instagram. So on Facebook, I think that it actually made it farther, which is surprising, but I was really, really excited about that. So yeah, that's the first thing. Do you have any questions about that or you want me to keep going?
That was like the first thing I saw from you.
Yeah.
I just thought, wow, what a remarkable way that you can still be in communication with your clients right now, that you can still show them that you are there for them. Because before we went live, Hannah and I were just kind of catching up. And one of the things that we were talking about was it is so important when you are in this industry, creating a great experience for somebody is really the name of the game. If you create a remarkable experience for somebody, they are likely to refer you to their friends and family. It is just good business to show your people that you really care for them and that you are for them, even in the midst of COVID-19. Hey, it's just like, hey, I'm sorry your newborn session was canceled, that I couldn't come to your home, but here's what I've got for you anyway. And so I just think that is like best business practice 101, just being there for your customers, connecting with them, despite just all of the craziness that's happening around us right now.
Yeah, I think that that's always been kind of my school of thought is you have to give more than you take from your customers. And ultimately, I understood that if I was able to show up for them here now, I hope that they want me in the future. So I hope that, you know, they love the photos that they got on their own, but they can still respect that I did try my best to help them out. And then in the future, when they are questioning, oh, I think I want family pictures again, they're like, oh yeah, I remember, like she helped me out and I watched that. So I'm going to try to, you know, reach out and see if we can book something together. So there's definitely an intention of furthering the business model through that and through giving. But I do think that that was my thought process in the newborn session. And ultimately I was bored at home, just trying to stay busy. So I wanted people's photos to edit and I really just wanted to be able to still continue my craft. So that was definitely the first thing that I did.
Yeah. What was number two?
Number two is I made a mixed book tutorial IGTV, which was my second. And just a side tip for those of people who have never done an IGTV, if you're doing them on your phone and you're uploading them on your phone, it shows that there's like a 10-minute max. And so I didn't know that. I made the whole video, spent the whole day doing it. I go to upload it. It's 14 minutes and it just cuts me off. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to rework this whole video. I couldn't figure out parts to delete, only to go online and figure out that if you upload it from a computer, I think it can be around 30 or 40.
Yeah.
So that is a side tip for people who are also going to be doing more virtual marketing through the next few weeks. The mixed book though, I actually have a sample of it, which this is from one of my senior sessions. And it's amazing. It's just a really great website and they do custom books and some other photo gifts. And I love them. I've been supporting them for a really long time. They truly value their customers and their customer service comes first. There's 24-hour chatting and they've just been amazing. I actually made that tutorial, and even though I don't have a huge following, I'm not a blogger that's going to be, getting them thousands of dollars, but they actually gifted me $100 credit just for showing up and making the tutorial during COVID. And it was everything to me. I was just like, oh my gosh, that is so kind. So this is one of my senior books, and it's really, really cool because there's custom wallpapers, templates, everything. You can do it for any type of book, but the page quality is really, really amazing. And it's just a different medium to be able to showcase your senior photos in your home. And I'm just really excited because I told someone there's something so different about being like, hey, do you want to come over and look at this box of prints that I have of my child? And being like, oh, this is their senior book. It's totally different than like sitting at someone's couch and just going through a box of images, even though I'm very pro printing your photos. So the mixed book tutorial was a way that I was trying to educate people to try to have another way and another project to accomplish during this time. And then I also actually was offering to make the mixed books for them. And I was just going to do an hourly rate. And then I would log into their accounts and they could order it at their leisure, or, once they have a promo code, and just kind of work it out like that. So that was a really extensive one, but it is amazing for travel, wedding, baby, senior, just a gift for your family. And, yeah, so that was my second IGTV.
Yeah, and that's awesome. I think one other thing that I saw you do too, which I loved and was truly going to take you up on, but I think that they closed production, was wall galleries.
Yeah.
I thought that was such a fabulous idea. I think that was even before the IGTVs. I think you were promoting that.
Yeah.
And so just talk to us a little bit about that. I know it's not as applicable right now because I think they've since shut down production, but I still just thought it was another creative idea, a way to reach a clientele. Like I have literally been talking about doing a wall gallery in our dining room for 2 years now, but just did not have the patience or the time or the energy to put all of that together. And so, just walk us through what that looked like for you too.
So when talking to a lot of my clientele, I realized that people are very intimidating by printing. And just because it's the language that I speak in terms of 8x10, 5x7s, 4x6s, like I just know what that means. I know that I shoot at a 2x3 ratio, which equates better to some of those sizing in prints. And so when photographers give you a format of 2x3 and you have a photo that's a 2x3 ratio, you're like, okay, a 4x6, that makes sense. But a 5x7 is a completely different crop, as is an 8x10. And so then you get into the realm of, well, how do I make this photo work? Because it's being cropped. And people are really intimidated by even just having to retweak it a little bit through the back end softwares and options for printing online. So I thought about how I could help them with that part, and also making sure it was a cohesive look. And I understand that when you look at your wall, it's a lot more exciting, I believe, to have 9 pictures of your favorite moments in your life. And so for you and Wes, I think that it would be like, when you got engaged and some of the trips you've been on and just different activities and things, like maybe it's when you moved in together for the first time, and those can be iPhone photos. And I'm not the photographer snob that thinks that you can't print an iPhone photo, but I do think there's techniques in order to make it print better. And so for the gallery walls, I was offering to edit and convert any of the images into being like the 9 collective set, either in color or black and white. Black and white does work better for iPhone photos, and I just would up the grain a little bit so you can't see the pixelation when it prints out. And then they were printing out in 8x8s, which is a square. So again, we have to deal with the cropping, which I was going to do for them. And I just thought that I could have a DIY gallery wall kit, and I would send them the frames, which came with everything. And then I would also order the prints that directly sends to their house. And then ultimately they would have the 2 things that they need. They just have to pick the wall. So that was my second brainstorming operation. And then the print shops did close for safety, which was a good thing. So it was definitely delayed, but people were still able to do it. And so, yeah, that was definitely my second option of brainstorming.
Yeah. I love your creativity and just your ways that you found to still, like I said before, just connect and really to keep your business going and moving, because that is certainly a struggle that so many other photographers are having. But before this too, we were talking about restaurants
Yeah.
that may or may not reopen after all of this. We were talking about moments that and I know we touched on this too during this conversation, but moments that people aren't going to get back. And so it's important to look for resources, connect with your photographer if you had a session, support them in any way that you can. And I want to touch on that too, Hannah. What are some ways that people, if they had a session booked with a photographer, and let's say it's being postponed, it's being rescheduled, it's kind of up in the air, what are some other things that they can do to support their photographer?
Yeah, I think on the note, before we get into the supporting, there are a lot of other photographers that are doing other really creative things. Like I've
Yeah.
seen Facebook virtual FaceTime sessions where they must be screenshotting them and then creating them into actual photos where they edit them the same. That's been amazing to see. And then outfit guides and posing guides and mentor sessions, virtual mentor sessions. There's so many really cool opportunities that a lot of creative people and a lot of photographers have been trying to support. But in terms of supporting your local photographers, I would say that for me, I think people don't even realize that just booking a session for further in advance and paying their $20 or $50 deposit right now is what keeps us afloat. And that is what actually paid for me to have groceries during the pandemic. And so, because everything was canceled, and it's just been really amazing because this summer's senior session, and seniors are a huge thing in the Midwest. And I think they're in the South too, but less
Yeah.
on the East Coast. It's really interesting how it pans out throughout the United States. But I just think that deposits, obviously, I've had a couple people order from my print shop, which is just a collection of places I've traveled, and just been like, hey, do you have any wall art that I can buy? And that's been really amazing just to have that as another option. But I think that for free options, it's huge. If someone even just posts a photo that we've taken in the past and wants to put it on their story and say, this was my photographer who took this shot that I love, tag you, then that's a free way to share the love and help drive traffic. And I just think that, it's beyond the photography industry. It's for anyone. It's for any industry, any small business, restaurants, and otherwise. I had a really amazing experience yesterday. And one of the restaurants in our area in Grand Rapids is called Donkey Takira, I think, and or Taqueria. And they're amazing. And they've been one of my favorite restaurants. And when I got engaged, we had those tacos. And then for my birthday, we had those tacos, and we closed on our first house during this pandemic. And we went there and we told them like, well, this was a celebratory meal for us. And we were really excited. And when we got home, the bag said, our treat, congrats on the house. And it was from that restaurant, which we had considered using for catering for our wedding. And it's just a done deal now. The fact that a small business would also be willing to, spread some love and help, just help be kind during this time, even though they're obviously hurting. I mean, not being able to see people in real life is really, really hard for these restaurants. But the fact that that didn't stop them from doing such a kind gesture just made all the difference to me. So I think that is really important for all of the businesses, that if you can just show up for them and share about them for free, or if you have the funds or time to order something or pay a deposit up front or pay for a session up front. I just think that there's so many ways to make a huge difference in a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, One other question that I have, and we kind of touched on this too, is how can we best go about rescheduling and being kind to our photographers during this time too? I know that you are getting married here soon. I'm getting married here in the fall, and it is a sad and a time to mourn for our spring brides and maybe even to some of our summer brides too. And we were kind of chatting about this before we hopped on live again, but how can we best go about it? Or how can brides, family members who are communicating with photographers, how can they best go about rescheduling during this time?
Yeah, I think that everybody's trying to do their best to offer some sort of relief if you've been affected by it. And so the industry standard now is very much a lot of amazing venues are offering refunds. And I mean, that's why I don't ask for money up front, because I don't want to give money back that I already had. And so I really only have that deposit, which is something that also is only taken after I've performed the engagement session for them. And so they very much get something out of it no matter what. And then, the actual payments are taken care of later. But the thing is that everybody's either offering money back or they're offering you to be able to apply your contract to a different date. And so I will say that I've had 10 weddings changed, 10 weddings rescheduled, postponed, and that's just since March 9th. And so my next first wedding would be June 20th as of now. And with that being said, I have had somebody cancel on me, and just, the next date that works for them is not one that I had available. And that's really hard to do. It's really hard because there's so many parties involved. So obviously not everybody's going to win, because we're all industry performers and we're all booked with all weddings throughout the rest of the year. So it's really hard to work out with multiple vendors. But I think that being a bride at this time, I think you just have to treat people with respect and understand that they're also, even these venues who are like, well, we can only give you half your deposit back. There's people who work for those venues who need to support their family also. And a lot of the venues end up losing a lot of money in order to just keep the lights on if they aren't having events. So it puts everyone in a weird spot. So handling it with grace and respect and trying to just be nice and kind and use our kind words instead of, more condescending, interrogating words.
Yeah.
I think that makes a big difference. But for rescheduling, I think the easiest way is to try to offer advance notice. And you just have to say, like, if I pick it now, and if I pick a date that's, the summer of 2021 or coming up in the fall, the reality is people understand that weddings are super important. And I think that a lot of people will be accommodating to your wedding, especially guests. And if you have to have a Thursday wedding or a Friday wedding or a Sunday wedding and your dream was a Saturday, there might have to be some compromise in that, but that's not going to take away. You're not going to be less married if you get married on a Thursday. And ultimately, I think you just have to remember that it really is just about the two of you and your relationship going to the next level. And that's the number one thing, which you have been so good about. And I know you completely understand it, but you just have to think about what's going to make it your dream day. Is it going to be the person and having flowers? Is it going to be surrounded by 300 of your guests? And if that's the case, then we'll find a better date and we'll work it out. And I think everyone's been really, really willing to be flexible. And that's just going to be the name of the game, is flexibility.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the overarching theme of our entire conversation today is don't be afraid to pivot. To change your business, to be creative, think of new ideas, continue to create remarkable experiences for people despite all of this, and be kind. At the end of the day, that is really just the name of the game. Everybody right now is struggling in some way, shape, or form. Even if it's not impacting you directly as a person, it's probably affecting somebody that you know, whether that's a family member or a friend, or maybe someone at a restaurant that you frequent. we just need to be kind to one another during this time for sure. Hannah, I really appreciate your time today. It was so nice catching up with you before we got on live, and then just chatting more business and creativity and new ideas during this time.
Thank you. I'm so excited for you to do this and offer this to all of your people and clients. And I think that is just really smart and really communal, and we're taking advantage of the times that we're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Just trying to connect with as many people as possible right now and really just be a resource to people. I hope that people, other photographers or other business owners see this and they're inspired by it, because
Really.
it's really easy to get bogged down and be negative during this time. But I really think we just kind of needed to dig in and put our heads down, think of some new great ideas, and really just stay positive during this time. So I super appreciate you being positive and hopping on this call with me today. And I hope to see you in person sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again. I hope you guys have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.